for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle. Once again, it is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 the Midlands around the world, on the iHeart Radio application. Break out the brooms, folks. It was a sweep for your now 11-0 Clemson Tigers, a 5-2 victory on Sunday, delivering the final blow after a 10-2 victory on Saturday at Segra Park. Couldn't think of the name for a second. And then, of course, on Friday night, Clemson wins it 3-2. So a 3-game sweep for your Clemson Tigers, taking the series from the Gamecocks, and what a weekend it was. Behind 3 runs in 4 innings, Clemson defeats South Carolina 5-2 at Doug Kingsmore Stadium and picks up the sweep. The Gamecocks fell to 7-4 on the year. Clemson now 11-0, and it was the first sweep in a season series of 3 or more games against South Carolina since 1996, when the Tigers swept that season series 4 games to none. So congratulations to Monty Lee and the Clemson Tigers. We'll hope to get up with Brad Owens, Director of Baseball Operations at Clemson, and perhaps even Coach Lee here in the next few days to talk about the weekend series and the way things went for Clemson. With that being said, this team now moves forward into another key midweek game. I say it all the time. I can't say it enough. Midweek games are huge. They've got 2 this week. They'll take on East Tennessee State tomorrow at 4 o'clock, right as we're going on the air. The Tigers will be hitting the diamond. And then on Wednesday, it'll be a 6 o'clock start against Michigan State. That game will be played over at Fluor Field. That is a neutral site game. By the way, the East Tennessee State game tomorrow on the ACC Network Extra package. The Michigan State game, I believe, will be available on GreenvilleDrive.com. Of course, playing over there at Fluor Field, home of the Greenville Drive. And then this weekend, the Tigers with a 3-game series against Northeastern. Friday kicking off at 4 o'clock, Saturday at 3, and Sunday at 1 p.m. The Tigers open up Atlantic Coast Conference play next weekend, the 18th. I guess that would be, 2 weekends from this coming weekend. March the 18th, Clemson will host the Miami Hurricanes in a 3-game series. The Hurricanes are a top 25 team. 803-450-0086 text line, phone line. Again, be a part of the program anytime, any place, anywhere. And our website for you, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. But it was a great weekend again for the Clemson Tiger baseball team. And how about Clemson's pitching staff giving up what ended up being 5 earned runs in the 3-game series. And then Clemson's offense comes around and timely hitting. This ball club's playing really good. And, it's early yet. That's the one thing I will say. You don't want to put the cart before the horse. But this team is playing very good baseball. I was disappointed in Friday night's performance, even though they came away with a 3-2 victory, scoring runs in the 8th and 9th inning, the top of the 8th and the top of the 9th inning there in Columbia against the Gamecocks, because of the amount of strikeouts that this Clemson Tiger team had in that ball game. Will Sanders for the Gamecocks in 7 innings struck out 14 batters. And I'll be honest, as that's kind of going on, I'm thinking, man, the Tigers got to get Sanders off of the bump. They were able to do that. Then they took advantage of the Gamecocks bullpen for the 2 winning runs, one in the top of the 8th, one in the top of the 9th, to secure that 3-2 victory. But 14 strikeouts by Will Sanders in that ball game, and he was dealing. I mean, he was really dealing. The rest of the weekend, you kind of felt like Clemson got things together in terms of what you would say maybe some discipline at the plate. They weren't too aggressive. I think. Listen, I think there's a fine line between being too aggressive and being not aggressive enough. I prefer aggression personally on that front. But, man, Friday night's game, as Sanders was just mowing Tigers down left and right, you thought you got to get him out of there. And fortunately, the Tigers were able to get to the point in the ballgame where Mark Kingston decided he was going to go to his bullpen, and that was exactly what the doctor ordered in order for Clemson to win the first game of the series. They hammered the Gamecocks in game 2, 10-2. And then yesterday's matchup over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Again, Clemson got out to a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the third inning. The Gamecocks get 2 back of the next 2 innings to make it a much more interesting ball game. Clemson picks up 2 in the bottom of the 8th, and then they blank the Gamecocks in the top of the 9th. The Tigers, 5 runs on 6 hits, no errors on Sunday. The Gamecocks just 2 runs on 10 hits and 3 errors. So the Tigers are undefeated and out of the gates here on a Monday afternoon, excited about what this baseball club has been able to do. Checking out some of the composite numbers leading the Tigers in hitting so far. Cooper Engel batting .463 on the season. Just 1 home run, but 14 runs batted in his 41 at-bats. Max Wagner with the second best batting average on the team, batting .367 with 30 at-bats with 2 homers and 10 RBIs. And Briar Hawkins, Mr. Clutch, .357 right now, 42 at-bats. He's got 15 hits, 16 RBIs, and 3 home runs. Caden Grice also with 3 home runs on the season. Those 2 guys tied at the top. Your Tigers overall batting .309 this year, 14 dingers, 97 RBIs already for Clemson, and one of just a handful of teams that remain undefeated in college baseball. Mac Anglin, a 1.12 ERA. He's 2-0 on the year in 3 appearances. Nick Hoffman, a 2.77 ERA and 2-0 in 3 appearances this year as well. So the Clemson Tigers, again, off to a very good start, and the opportunities abound for this team moving forward with excitement in the air. And I guarantee you, an excited crowd will roll into Doug Kingsmore Stadium each and every weekend to support this Clemson Tiger baseball team. So much love for this team. I know people want more. I know they expect more out of Monty Lee, but I can't wait to see what unfolds for this team, as they have looked really entertaining so far this year. And I'll tell you a name here that I'm really starting to appreciate is Benjamin Blackwell, the transfer from Dayton. Man, has he been a fun guy to kind of watch play this year, and a spark for Clemson there at the shortstop. So, just it is fun. I don't lie. Like, I know you guys know this. I'm not Mr. Baseball here. I'm never going to be accused of being Bob Euchre, but it's been a fun team so far this season. I hope things continue to go well for those Clemson Tigers. 803-450-0086, text line, phone line. Again, be a part of the program anytime, any place, anywhere. We got William Qualkenbush coming up in hour number 2. Looking forward to talking with him. We'll also talk about your Clemson Tiger men's basketball team. How about the job they did this weekend, coming from behind to knock off Virginia Tech, a Virginia Tech team that had won, 9 out of 10 games, I think, coming into the matchup. Yet Clemson with a full lineup. Again, you got P.J. Hall back. We didn't know if P.J. would be available. He was. He did play. We'll talk about his performance in just a little bit. But a 63-59 victory for the Clemson Tigers over the Virginia Tech Hokies, as 4 Clemson Tigers net double figures in the game, as senior Hunter Tyson knocked down a 10-footer with 32.2 seconds left to ice the game. Fittingly, Hunter Tyson had been icing that collarbone for a while with his recovery. But now the chicken wing is good, and he is back. And, of course, Clemson now moves into the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament. They'll play on Tuesday. The Tigers will take on the 15th seed, NC State. That's a 4:30 start on Tuesday from the Barclays Center up at Brooklyn. And I got to tell you, looking down the line, if the Clemson Tigers win that one, they will face this very same Virginia Tech team, who is the 7th seed, on Wednesday. That'll be a 7 o'clock start on ESPN2. And I'm not telling you it's going to happen, but there is a possibility based off of the lineup. And I said this a couple of weeks ago, with these guys coming back, with the potential of these guys returning, and the way this team had been playing minus PJ Hall, and or if you want to keep Hunter Tyson's name in there, winnable game, should beat NC State. Again, Clemson's the 10 seed, NC State's the 15 seed. The Wolfpack are the lowest seed in the tournament. Clemson and NC State, 4:30 on Tuesday. Then the Tigers will take on Virginia Tech. Winnable opportunity at 7 o'clock on ESPN2 on Wednesday. And that would mean that on Thursday in the quarterfinals, Clemson could take on Notre Dame, who is the 2 seed. I wouldn't give the Tigers a lot of hope to win that ball game. But I do think the belief that Clemson is playing basketball through Thursday and heading into that matchup against Notre Dame, riding a 6-game losing streak, at this point is not far-fetched. Now, if Brad Brownell and Clemson blow a tire in game 1 to NC State, would I be absolutely flabbergasted? I would not. That would probably be fitting for what we've seen many times during his tenure, unfortunately. But the way it's set up from from this observer's perspective, I truly believe this Clemson Tiger team has a great chance to win 2 games at the ACC tournament. Speaking of the tournament, here's how it'll lay out. Game 1, the 12th seed Pittsburgh Panthers will take on the 13th seed Boston College Eagles tomorrow at 2 o'clock on the ACC network. Then, of course, Clemson and NC State tomorrow at 4:30 on the ACC network. And then the final game of the night, 7 o'clock, Louisville, the 11th seed, takes on Georgia Tech, the 14th seed. That game as well on the ACC network. The second round matchups begin on Wednesday as the 8th seed Florida State Seminoles take on the 9th seeded Syracuse Orange at noon on ESPN or ESPN2. Game 5 will feature Wake Forest versus the winner of that Pittsburgh-Boston College game. That's a 2:30 start on ESPN or ESPN2. The game 6 is the potential one where Clemson could land against Virginia Tech, the 7th seed. If the Tigers win, that would be a 7 o'clock start on ESPN2, or I should say, and I did mention this earlier, ESPNU. And then game 7, the final game of the night on Wednesday, will be number 6 Virginia taking on the winner of Louisville and Georgia Tech at 9:30, definitely on ESPN2. The number 1 seed, the Duke Blue Devils, don't play until the quarterfinals at noon on Thursday. The 4th seeded Miami Hurricanes will play at 2:30 on Thursday. Notre Dame will play the winner potentially of Virginia Tech Clemson or Virginia Tech NC State, whomever wins that first matchup and takes on Virginia Tech. They'll face that winner at 7 o'clock on ESPN or ESPN2. And then the 3-seeded North Carolina Tar Heels will play in the nightcap on Thursday, 9:30 on ESPN or ESPN2. And North Carolina, of course, over the weekend spoiled Coach K's going away party as North Carolina went in to Cameron Indoor Stadium, Coach K Court, and came away with a victory. And I watched that matchup, and I couldn't help but think of a couple of things. 94-81, the final score. The Tar Heels now 23-8. The Blue Devils now 26-5. You couldn't help but watch all of those former players. I think there were 88, maybe 90 former Duke players in attendance. They invited, I think, all 288 or however many guys that were coached by Mike Krzyzewski. Danny Ferry was there. I saw Elton Brand, J.J. Redick, Steve Wojciechowski, Christian Leitner, Jason Williams. I mean, there were a ton of guys there. And, I think some of maybe that moment got to the team a little bit late. The pressure of having to win that game, I think, got to that team a little bit late. But it was, it was a neat thing to tune in and watch, and I'm glad I did. I also just happened to be doing my watching with another contest on, which is the Charlotte Football Club, the new MLS team up in Charlotte, watching their second match ever. They were defeated 1-0 by the LA Galaxy, and I think there's going to be a lot of excitement, honest to goodness, around that soccer program. And I mentioned this the other day too. My old buddy Will Pelagic, typical spelling, Pelagic, is the play-by-play man for the Charlotte Football Club. So I'm interested to watch those guys as well. Watch them this weekend. I already set the YouTube TV to record them anytime they come on. And it was kind of weird, right? We're watching the end of an era up in Durham as Coach K is coaching his final game, or was, and the beginning of an era as the Charlotte Football Club's playing their first home game on the same night, both games in the state of North Carolina. But in the state of South Carolina, it is owned by your Clemson Tiger baseball team as they come away with a 3-game series sweep, a convincing sweep of the South Carolina Gamecocks this weekend. And certainly we'll hear from Monty Lee coming up in just a little bit. But there is no doubt about the fact that bragging rights belong to your Clemson Tigers. They have done a number on the South Carolina Gamecocks when you talk about the top men's sports at these two institutions as of late. The Gamecock football team has lost 7 in a row, would have been 8, you would assume, had the COVID-19 year not taken place. Men's soccer at South Carolina has now lost 8 in a row to the Clemson Tiger soccer team. The South Carolina baseball team has now lost 4 in a row to Clemson. They lost to the Clemson Tiger basketball team this year. I mean, it's been a pretty dominant performance as of late by the Clemson Tiger men's squads against the South Carolina Gamecock men in football, soccer, basketball, and baseball. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086, text line, phone line. Again, don't forget, coming up in hour number 2, we'll be joined by our good buddy William Qualkenbush. We'll also update you on the Clemson Tiger softball team. Tough weekend as the number 6 Virginia Tech Hokies were at McWhorter Stadium this weekend. And I'll tell you what, that's a good softball club. I didn't realize, honestly, before the weekend just how good Virginia Tech was. But, man, did they come in and really put it on the Clemson Tigers with a 3-game sweep, winning 6-1 on Friday, 4-0 on Saturday, and 4-2 on Sunday in the finale. I had no idea that Virginia Tech was that good until I looked down. I guess it was Saturday morning maybe, and I was like, man, I didn't realize they were the number 6 team in the country. Again, your Clemson Tigers, one of the top 15 teams in the land coming into the weekend. So a big opportunity was at hand for Clemson at home, but they could not get the JOBDONE, the job done. Coming up on the program, again, we've talked a lot about this Clemson Tiger baseball team in the weekend that was and the way they took care of business against South Carolina. We'll hear some of Monty Lee's post-game comments right after this. Plus, coming up a little later in hour number 1, we'll hear from Clemson men's basketball coach Brad Brownell following the Tigers' victory over Virginia Tech in what was a quality win for the Clemson Tigers as they get P.J. Hall back. They have their fully loaded arsenal ahead of the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament, and they find a way to win another matchup, 4 in a row, their longest winning streak ever heading into the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament, if you can believe that stat. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Back at it on a Monday afternoon, the show that shakes the Southland. Don't forget, coming up in hour number 2, William Qualkenbush joins us. And again, the Clemson Tiger men's basketball team with a big victory over the weekend. Their 4th consecutive win, knocking off Virginia Tech. And they will take a 4-game winning streak, their longest ever, heading into the ACC tournament. As I mentioned before the break, they come away, though, with a victory. Senior Day, Little John Coliseum. 63-59 the final score. Here's Brad Brownell's opening thoughts after the game on Saturday.
That was a great ending to a very tough game. Both teams, grinded on each other, very physical. Pleased with the way we defended. A lot of respect for Virginia Tech, Coach Young, their staff. Those guys do a great job, play a great way, good players. Hard to score against. Just our guys hung in there and just kept battling, just like we've kind of done here down the stretch, and walked away with a really good, tough win. So happy for our seniors to be to win like this on a day when you're got a lot of emotion. I thought our seniors were good, and nice to end it for them that way as well.
Brownell was also asked about the game-winning play to Hunter Tyson and how that came about, whether or not it was something they drew up or whether or not it was just a natural byproduct of what was taking place on the court.
The play there that ultimately won the game for you, how did you guys draw that up? And what were
the play that Hunter made wasn't any kind. It was, they came and trapped us. They trapped us the one time, and we kind of knew it was coming out of the timeout. I don't know why Nick. I have to look at the film. I felt like there was somebody open, but he just kind of held on to it for a second. Then he called timeout, which was a good move. And then they came after us again. Obviously, they had a lot of fouls to give, and so I'm sure by the time they do all the fouling, then there's not going to be enough time maybe to, we could run it out, right? They're going to have to foul us. So they went to trap us to make us make a play. And then Hunter got the ball in the middle, got it to Hunter. He made a nice pull-up right there just inside the foul line. So just a good basketball play when, typical stuff. You get trapped, get 3 outlets, be poised with the double team, try to get it out and go make a play. And he did it.
Brad Brownell was also asked about the defense that Clemson played in the first half, just sort of giving up some threes and ultimately getting it all together in the back end of the game.
Aline made he had 4 threes, but they're a good 3-point shooting team, and we did a good job on Aluma. They just have so many different ways they can hurt you that Couture wasn't going. So yeah, we were fine with the way they had 33. I thought we did okay, even though it was at 44%. They took some threes. I just thought we competed hard, we created a few turnovers, extended our defense a little bit tonight. Finally kind of got our full allotment of guys back, so we were able to extend our defense and just kind of hung in there. Today was hard. These guys are hard to play against. They run good motion. They great plays. You got to be on point. You make a mistake, and they're going to capitalize. And I thought our kids played really hard. I thought we played a lot of guys. And how many guys is that? I don't think we played how many guys. Did all of them? Is that 11 or is that 10? Played double figure. Every guy played double figure minutes. So we tried to play a lot of people and wear them down a little bit and pick up full court and do some different things. And so, yeah, I was very pleased with the way our guys did that, especially in a short turnaround.
As for PJ Hall's situation, obviously heading into the ACC tournament tomorrow, all eyes will be on him as the big man has led Clemson in scoring this season and certainly is a guy that Clemson hopes now they can use in conjunction with the other players. But here's what Coach Brownell had to say about PJ's situation heading into the next few days and then ultimately into tomorrow's matchup against NC State.
No, he practiced Thursday a little bit, then a little more on Friday. And obviously after Thursday, you come in Thursday and it's like, hey, I think he'd been pointing to this point. I think he was hoping in his mind that he could play at least one game before he gets to Brooklyn. We kind of didn't think he'd play last week, and then maybe Georgia Tech, just see how it goes. But just, he really wants to obviously play in the tournament, right? And so I think he felt like, let me just give it another 3 or 4 or 5 days rest, see what it's like on Thursday. And Thursday it felt good. Practiced a little bit, felt good on Friday. And obviously today he was ready to go. So, hopefully, obviously he didn't play as much. Didn't want to play him as much. Wasn't going to put him back out there for, 30 minutes right away. But, now he won't do anything Sunday. He probably won't do much Monday. And then hopefully he's able to give us something on Tuesday.
So some good comments there from Brad Brownell about this Clemson Tiger basketball team as they head into the ACC tournament. They are the 10 seed, the Barclays Center, 4:30 on Tuesday. They will take on the 15 seed NC State Wolfpack. And Clemson, I tell you, I think that the versatility that they may have developed minus Hunter Tyson and PJ Hall over the past couple of weeks should help them. We'll talk with William Qualkenbush. He's on Twitter at Qualk Talk. We'll talk with Qualk about it in hour number 2. Brad Brownell was also asked about that very thing after the game on Saturday, whether or not they had to make some major adjustments to kind of, get past or work through having a guy like PJ Hall out. And I think you might be surprised by what Coach Brownell had to say about it. And we will play that for you when we get back here in just a few minutes. Again, Clemson wraps the regular season 16-15, 8-12 in the league, a marked improvement from the 4-12 where they were 4 games ago. And they enter with their longest winning streak heading into the ACC tournament in history. Additionally, for Clemson, I have said it several times, you look back on the handful of games that just got away from them, might they play the role of spoiler? Maybe not necessarily in round 1 against NC State, but possibly round 2 against Virginia Tech. And dare I say or hope that they find a way to knock off Notre Dame and become the story of the ACC tournament? Question mark. Could it happen? It's possible. When we come back, we'll hear what Brad Brownell had to say about the change or lack thereof in philosophies with PJ Hall being out. Stay with us to find out what Coach Brownell had to say. The show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan with you on a Monday afternoon, a beautiful Monday. I mean, some highs in the 80s. Ooh, man, what you talking about? March, first week in March, pumping up the 85 spot. Holy moly. 803-450-0086. Again, the Clemson Tigers had practice today. We will have some audio for that, hopefully, for you. If not during this show, we will have that for you later this evening. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube account. Easiest way to get there, if you don't already know how to get there, go to tinyurl.com/Clemson Sports TV. You can find us over there. Post-practice today, scheduled to hear from the new Clemson defensive run coordinator, defensive tackles coach, Nick Eason, and a handful of players. If we cannot get it for you on the air, again, we will get it to you online, and you can check out all that information on our website too. That's ClemsonSportsTalk.com. All right, so first up, I do want to jump back into basketball briefly here. Brad Brownell, it's a long response from Brad Brownell about this Clemson Tiger basketball team, but I mean, that's kind of been where, my mindset has been about this team, that perhaps these injuries to Hunter Tyson and PJ Hall were maybe a blessing in disguise because it forced some guys like Ian Schifflin to mature their game faster than you might have liked. Ben Middlebrooks, maybe another name that's matured a little bit in terms of what they can bring to this team. And, if there's more confidence all around, who knows what this team looks like this week up in Charlotte. Here's Brad Brownell up in Greensboro. Here's Brad Brownell when asked about the changes and what they did offensively with Hall and Hunter Tyson out that maybe made things work a little bit better. I think you might be surprised by what he has to say.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't change. I mean, we're still playing the same offensively. That nothing's changed other than, PJ wasn't getting as many, wasn't there to get touches. So now a few other guys are going to get more shots. that's naturally going to happen. Defensively, we played a lot of zone against Wake and Boston College. Is some of it out of necessity. You lose 2 front court guys. You really only have Ian and Ben and Nas is 6'5". If those guys are in foul trouble, they can't. You're in trouble. There's nobody else to put in. So it's like, hey, we've got to play some zone to slow the game down, protect them for fouls. And I think both games I know one game they both had 4 anyway. And so we were kind of doing that. I think it obviously surprised Wake because we played a little zone, but nothing like that. And so that helped us. And then it worked a little bit against Boston College. They're not as good a perimeter shooting team. Obviously, we didn't play a second tonight because these guys are the best 3-point shooting team in the league. And we played it a little bit against Tech. And Tech made a couple threes early. And so we kind of got out of it, went back to our man, and our man was pretty good. So we stayed in our man. So that's the biggest adjustment. I think some other guys, because they got to shoot a few more balls, maybe got a little more confidence. Chase, hopefully, got a couple more shots. But we didn't drastically change anything offensively. I think guys just got a few more opportunities.
Brad, what can this last 4 games do for you guys going to the tournament now?
Well, I hope it gives us confidence. It's everybody though starts that way, right? Like every team's going there. Hey, this is a new season, new chance. And so you try to go there with positive energy and emotion, but it's been great for the last 2 weeks. Our just resilient grit, whatever. Our guys have just hung in there. We could have given in. We could have given in easily, and we're coming off lost 6 in a row, and heartbreaking defeat against Florida State, where we have a chance to win, and still think a couple of bad calls got us. And then we have an open shot to win. We don't make it, and then our best player is out in the first minute of the game at Louisville, and we battle hard, and but just not quite good enough to win. And Louisville, played pretty well that day, and so then you got Wake Forest coming in here, who's one of the best teams in the league, one of the most talented teams, and we try to figure something out, and we just happened to get a win, and it got us going a little bit, and it led to another one, and now we're just kind of hanging on, and gained some confidence, and a few more guys have played, and so now you put Ben in the game for a while longer, and he's had reps and feels a little more comfortable, and Ian, and so it's been good to help create some depth. I think that's been the biggest benefit of it all.
And I think he's right. I mean, it really has created depth. This group, from top to bottom, I mean, in my estimation, is not like some supremely talented bunch. Like, the only guy who I truly believe has a chance to play at the next level on this entire team is PJ Hall. And even PJ Hall's potential in the NBA is slim to none in my estimation. Now, some of the other guys, some of the other players will have opportunities overseas. I would believe that even PJ Hall most likely plays his career, or the majority of his career, overseas. He'll probably get a look in the NBA. I mean, he could develop significantly over the next couple of years and maybe make a run. But at this point, for me, I don't think there's an NBA talent on this Clemson roster. And with that said, what we've always noted about Clemson is you have to have guys that are maturing so that when you're playing against these freshmen like Pablo Banchero, who are, guys that are going to be lottery picks, top 5 picks, that you can hang with them because you've got a veteran who's physically maybe a little bit more developed, and you take advantage of that, right? And so for Clemson, without a significant drop-off and getting guys like Ian Shiflin more opportunities, seeing Ben Middlebrooks get more opportunities, you've really added to the depth. You may not have improved your talent all that much, but you've added to the playable depth. I think the Tigers can be fairly comfortable 10 players deep and not feel like if you put any lineup out there that you had drop off. And that's significant. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we'll hear from head coach Monty Lee. Stay with us. For the Clemson Tiger baseball team this weekend, a big weekend. The Tigers yield just 2 runs per game. That opener, 3-2, Clemson with 2 runs in the 8th and 9th inning to escape with a W and kick off the series against the South Carolina Gamecocks in the right way before blowing them out over at Segra Park and then finishing the JOB up in Clemson yesterday. But here is some of Monty Lee's comments after Clemson's thrilling 3-2 win at Founders Park on Friday night.
Well, great win. Obviously, we showed some toughness, finding a way to, hit the long home run there in the 8th, and then Briar Hawkins came up with a big hit there to put us ahead. But I wouldn't say we particularly swung the bats very well tonight, and a lot of that had to do with Sanders. I thought he was outstanding. I mean, he pitched like a true Friday night guy, and he had runners on base a lot. I mean, we had a lot of opportunities, and he just found a way to make big pitches when he needed to. So I give him a lot of credit. This was a very tough environment to play in. Unbelievable crowd tonight. Very proud of our guys being able to continue to compete. I thought our pitching was outstanding. Again, our calling card so far in the early season has been our pitching. Mac Anglin was phenomenal. Our bullpen, Edmo, took a big jump there. He's been a guy for us and did an outstanding job. Landley and then Ammons right there. That just shows you just the makeup of Ryan Ammons. He hit the leadoff guy, 9-hole hitter, hit him, and I was like, I appreciate that. And but he made big pitches to Braswell, and I'm going to tell you something. Braswell will play this game for a long, long time. He's a special talent, and for Ammons to make the pitch that he made to him was huge for us. And again, it's just a great baseball game. And we were just fortunate enough to have, the big at bat from French and the big at bat from Briar. I thought Briar was locked in all night and was seeing the ball really well. And
so some comments from Monty Lee, and he talked about Briar Hawkins being locked in all night. In that game, Jonathan French was not. He was the opposite of locked in. He was 0 for 3 coming to the plate, and he had a terrible. I don't know how you judge strikeouts by the nature of the swing and the way, man, he hit one knee and buckled his knees. And I thought, man, Monty Lee sort of shook his head, kind of turned his head a little bit when it happened. But then he would come back with that late home run, which ultimately sparked the Clemson victory. Now, on Saturday, not even close. Clemson, Segra Park, all over the Gamecocks. Here's Monty Lee's reaction to their 10-2 win.
Well, what a great win. Found a way to win the series in 2 games. Very proud of our guys. Unbelievable start by Nick Hoffman. Just his poise and composure in this moment. We didn't help him in the first inning. We kicked 2 balls with 2 outs. And, but he just kept doing what he does, which is just pound the strike zone. And he gave us a chance going 5 deep. I thought our bullpen, again, did an outstanding job. Owen, Chuck, Dill, Rocco Reed. It was great to get 2 true freshmen in there, and Dill and Reed, in this environment, and they certainly passed the test and threw the ball very well. And then, we just used our plate discipline to score runs. Quite honestly, we didn't hit the ball. I know we scored 10 runs, but we didn't hit the ball particularly hard a lot. But we took advantage of some 390s. We had some opportunities to score from third with less than 2 outs, and we did that. Chad Ferry kind of broke it open for us and got us going there. I believe it was in the 4th inning with the big hit that scored a couple runs. But all in all, we just did a good job of taking our walks and getting on base. And again, our pitching staff did an outstanding job, and it was a great win in front of a great crowd.
Monty Lee once again following Clemson's 10-2 win on Saturday. And finally yesterday, the coup de grace, is that what we call it? Is that the top of the mark? I don't know. A 5-2 win sweeping the Gamecocks.
Well, what a great game, in front of a record crowd. I think we had, 3 games in a row with record crowds over the weekend. And, to find a way to sweep the Gamecocks was, again, just one of those things that I'll never forget. And, just a special moment in the program. But our pitching staff, we've got to give a lot of credit to our pitching staff just to pitch the way that we did. Just an unbelievable job of pitching with runners on base. I thought the difference in the game. We needed Clayton to go deep, and he was able to get us some quality innings. He did a great job. Jackson Lindley, quite honestly, was probably the most valuable pitcher in this game today. He had in the sixth, they had first and third with one out, big punch out. They didn't score right there. And then he got a huge double play after Braswell's 2-strike leadoff hit in the seventh. Got a double play, held him at bay right there. Jay Dill did a great job against Eister. And then Ryan Ammons, he made it interesting, but he filled up the strike zone and he made him swing the bat. And what a great way to end the game. We brought Max Starbuck in. Max, an older player in our program. This kid's worked his rear end off to get an opportunity to get on the field. He made a great play there with the tying run at the plate with Eister on deck to end the game. So great to see a great defensive play there to end the game. Offensively, we did just enough. Again, we had a nice, eighth inning right there. Engel hit the home run. French with the 2-out hit. Wish we'd have done a little more with runners at third, less than 2 outs. We had some punch outs, had some opportunities to tack on another couple runs. But all in all, when you pitch and defend the way that we pitched and defended the field, if you score 5 runs, you're going to win a lot of games. And
Monty Lee coming off of a 5-2 win over the South Carolina Gamecocks, and he's right. I mean, this team was not elite all weekend, but they were plenty good when they needed to be in order to come away with a 3-game sweep over the South Carolina Gamecocks. And now they look forward towards the remaining contests on their schedule, including getting into Atlantic Coast Conference play, not this weekend against Northeastern, but next weekend as they take on the Miami Hurricanes at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, March 18th, 19th, and 20th. 803-450-0086. I'll tell you what we'll do. We got our buddy William Qualkenbush coming up with us here in just a minute. We'll hear from Qualk and get his thoughts on the Clemson Tigers weekend, as it were, and also on this Clemson Tiger men's basketball team as well. All of that in a bag of chips coming up next. Stay with us.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tigers time. Tigers time.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan hanging out with you. And of course, on a Monday, our good buddy William Qualkenbush joins us to hang out. Qualk, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. And man, what a weekend it was for the Clemson Tiger baseball team with a 3-game series sweep over their fine feathered friends from Columbia, the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Swanee, it was a good weekend for sure, and I'm glad to be with you here. Hopefully we're having similar conversations to this every Monday about baseball. That'd be great.
Oh, listen, it really would be. And I think, when I was talking about this in hour number 1, when you looked at game 1, right, there was this moment where Clemson's striking out left and right, and you're thinking to yourself, if Sanders doesn't, come off the bump at some point, Clemson's not going to win game 1. You know how series are. They're funny that way. But then Clemson gets to the bullpen, gets 2 runs in the 8th and 9th, comes away with a 3-2 victory. And that moment was kind of when it felt like this whole series shifted.
Yeah, for sure. Now, look, we knew coming in, I think, a little bit about both teams, right? I mean, I don't think either team felt great about their starting pitching, but you felt like Clemson felt a little better, right? Because South Carolina coming into the series had a TBA for Saturday and Sunday, and that was for good reason because they've had some injuries and they've had some issues there. And Clemson, for all the issues that Nick Clayton had before yesterday when he was just fantastic, at least you knew he was going to be in there. And so you knew that Sanders and Anglin was going to be a big time battle. And to me, it was, I understand that maybe there were a lot of folks who were saying, boy, whoever wins this has a real good chance to win the series because of, the next two games are, one is neutral but kind of road, and the other one is obviously a home game for Clemson. And I understand that, but I kind of felt like it was a must-win game for South Carolina for this reason. If you're going into two consecutive games with, limited options in your bullpen, at least relative to your opposition, and you're playing the Friday game in your ballpark, you need to win that game with your ace on the mound. I know Clemson's ace was out there too, and Mac Anglin was fantastic going 5 innings. But you're right. Sanders was terrific, 7 innings, 14 Ks. He was just absolutely ridiculous. And you're right. I really think it changed. Obviously, French's home run was big because it really got to use the basketball term, it got the lid off the basket for Clemson. I felt like the critical moment in the series was not necessarily the intentional walk of Engel, but the decision to intentionally walk Engel on Friday by Mark Kingston without bringing in a righty to face Briar Hawkins. Now, over the course of his long career, Hawkins, you can look at his splits, he probably is pretty similar down the line in terms of righty-lefty. But of late, in talking to Monty Lee, he has been crushing lefties. Monty Lee's told me that twice already this year in different contexts, that Breyer's just murdering lefties. So when they left Gilreath in there to face Breyer, I thought, it's a really bad move. This is just not a good decision. I can't even figure out why you would ever do this. You'd rather pitch to Engel and see if you can get a lefty-lefty. But they felt like Gilreath with his fastball changeup combo was the right guy. And, of course, Hawkins hits a good pitch and gives them the win. Saturday was more about bullpen and South Carolina just not having options. Yesterday was really more about, I thought, Clemson taking advantage of critical situations in the game, making them count more times, not every time, but making them count more times. And Clemson got 3 great starts. I thought South Carolina got 1 great start and 2 okay starts in terms of length and in terms of effectiveness. And that really was the difference in the ballgame. You had wild pitches that were an issue for South Carolina. Clemson boots the ball twice in the first inning of Saturday's game and then is unable to, or South Carolina's unable to capitalize on more than just the 1 run. Clemson's able to kind of stop the bleeding there. Hoffman pitches out of it. I just felt like at every turn, Clemson was making the critical plays and the critical pitches. And even when things didn't go exactly right, somebody stepped up to do something to either get them off the field or to get that run across.
2 midweek games this weekend. This week, obviously, Qualk, and just a lot of confidence with this team right now, undefeated, and for me, for whatever reason, this baseball club is needed sort of a spark like this, kind of a hot start, I think, to kind of boost the confidence. The crowds have been electric, huge crowd yesterday on Sunday at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. I mean, you've been in the venue, you've been able to see this team. How much of the energy and the momentum do they have from just the sheer success they've had so far? And then how much of it is there, when they're at Doug Kingsmore playing behind a crowd that's really buying into this team right now?
Well, it's an interesting question because it leads to a chicken or the egg conversation. And if we had an hour, I would get into all the different things. If you remember a few years ago, I believe Garrett Bulware said that their team really liked playing on the road because it felt like sometimes the crowd got a little bit nervous or a little bit irritated, and it really got the team down in the dumps, and that wasn't the case when they went on the road. And his comments caused a stir, obviously, but the reality is that's true. Like when you have a game in your ballpark and your team is not playing well, or your team is not ahead, or your team is, seeing the other guys creep back in, all of a sudden the negative energy is pervasive too. The way the crowd can help you can also hurt you when things are going poorly. So that's true. I had this conversation with Bob Mahoney before the game that this was a really big deal to win for Clemson yesterday, because how many times have we seen it? And I used to him the basketball example. How many times, 20, have we seen men's basketball? Okay, they have a great November and then you get into December and they're winning fine. And then as soon as football's postseason's over, those casual fans turn their attention. They're like, okay, what's basketball doing? And what they've done so far has been fine. But then that next game, golly, I think it was the first Natty parade when there was a big crowd in Little John. It was noon. Remember, it snowed a little bit that day. And they just got Virginia wiped the floor with them. It was like a 25-point game or whatever. That team really never had a chance because the first time a lot of fans actually saw them, actually paid attention to them, it was difficult. So that's not what was going to happen with this. But you get two big wins in Columbia. You get a road win. You get a win in the neutral venue. If you had come home yesterday and laid an egg, then a lot of fans, a record crowd, over 6,600 of the almost 24,000 fans that watched this game, this series this weekend, you had almost 24,000 people. And again, a quarter of those in your ballpark, which is the smallest venue of the three. If you don't play well, then you lose a lot of that momentum. You're 10-1. You've won 3 series. You've won your midweek games. You've been great in one-run games. You've done everything asked of you from a baseball standpoint. But the one thing your fans got to see was not great. Instead, they got a good performance. I would say not great. It was not their best game of the year. In fact, Monty Lee said he told me I guess it was Saturday before it was yesterday before the game when we chatted that he felt like USC Upstate was probably the best game that they played start to finish. I don't think Sunday would overtake that USC Upstate game, the game that we saw yesterday. But the fans saw a good performance. They got clutch hitting. There was small ball, which, Clemson people, there's nobody who loves a bunt more than a Clemson fan. I'll tell you that. So you executed 2 bunts. You got a hit and run going. You got some hit and run going. You got a first to third on a steal and an E2, a runner that ended up scoring. Like, there were some issues in the game, but there was a lot to like. You got pitchers in the strike zone, not a lot of walks, playing good defense behind guys. So, and you saw a bunch of guys that threw strikes and were able to get high leverage outs at the end of the ball game. And you got to send the rival home with your first win in a sweep since 1999 and the first sweep of a 3+ game series since 1996.
Yeah.
That is a big shot in the arm for this team because that is the first time a lot of fans who maybe didn't want to go to Hartford or Indiana or the midweek games, that is the first time that a lot of fans would have seen them in person.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The fact that the first 3+ game sweep since 96 against the Gamecocks, what an impressive weekend it was. And Clemson was really dominant on Saturday. I know you were on the call there at Segra Park. Qualk, how many times have you been to Segra Park, and just what is your thoughts of the venue?
Well, it was my second time, and it's always interesting to go to minor league parks because there's a different feel to minor league baseball. And so when you put a college game in a minor league park, just from a broadcasting standpoint, there are always hurdles or differences, right? The differences are fine and the hurdles are difficult, but they exist. And so it's always interesting from a broadcaster's perspective. In terms of the fan perspective, I've never been as a fan, but it's a really nice venue. I got no issues with it. Now, to me, and I know Monty Lee was asked about this yesterday, I think Phil Kornblut asked him, what would you like to see happen? He said, look, I'll play wherever, but he said, I'd rather it be in Greenville personally. I think the Greenville Drive does a great job. I think Fluor Field has been a great venue for both sides. I think it's the most neutral venue of all of them. Now, with that being said, were there more South Carolina fans at the game Saturday? Yeah. Were there appreciably more where it wasn't a neutral venue and where it felt like the road team was like getting loud late in the game when South Carolina had been put to bed? No. I mean, I felt like it was fairly neutral. If you're talking about maybe a 55-45 or a 60-40 split, something like that, that's plenty of Clemson fans there. Plenty of folks wearing orange and purple. Again, when Clemson did something good, it wasn't like it was, a smattering of a few. It wasn't like the movie 300, right, where you're going up against the whole army. So I got nothing against the venue personally. I think they do a good job. I think they treat both teams incredibly well. Just personally, I would like to see it in Greenville, but I understand why South Carolina would rather it not be in Greenville all the time. And if we have to go to Columbia every other year and do it that way, I'd be fine with it because I have not had a bad experience there. And because you can fit over 9,000 fans in there, apparently that was wild, that number they threw out yesterday, which is the largest crowd outside of Rosenblatt Stadium to ever see a Clemson South Carolina game. It's a big deal. And Fluor Field's not going to be able to pack quite that many people in. So I give them credit for a job well done.
The thing I have suggested is play home series, right? Like 3 games at Clemson, and then do 3 midweek games, 1 Greenville, 1 Columbia, 1 Charleston every year. Like, to me, and then rotate the home. You know what I mean? Like, to me, 6 games of this series with 3 of them played at neutral sites would be phenomenal. But hey, they don't pay me the big bucks to come up with genius ideas like that for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Now, look, I will tell you this. You only get 14 midweek games. You think about that schedule. Like, think about what these 2 teams have next weekend, okay? Clemson's got Northeastern, who just swept NC State yesterday, all right? Their Friday guys shoved for 8 innings of shutout ball, and then they shut out NC State Sunday. That's a tough series. And then you got conference play. South Carolina, all they got is the number 1 team in the country coming in. So, like, that's a lot. Your midweek games need to be fairly difficult, and they probably are, given the area of the country that we're in for the most part. But do we need, like peak South Carolina where you're competing for Omaha, or peak Clemson where you're competing for Omaha? You need to see that 6 times and playing the SEC and ACC. Boy, that you're glutton for punishment, Swanee. Try to put that on the schedule, man.
I just try to make it better for the fans, Qualk. I got the fans' interest at heart. All right,
there you
let's
go.
talk about Clemson hoops. Qualk, 4-game winning streak, the longest winning streak they've ever had heading into an Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. And I got to tell you, tomorrow's matchup against NC State sets up, I think, really well for them. Now, if they blow a tire in game 1, it's not like I'm going to be shocked, but Virginia Tech would be the next opponent. They got a legitimate chance maybe to win 2 games in a row at the ACC tournament.
Well, I would agree. The way they played against Virginia Tech, I think is, it's a formula that you can duplicate. It's harder to duplicate on a neutral floor than it is in your building, especially. It seemed like, obviously, I was in Columbia, so having a hard time there. But I felt like it was a really good crowd. I feel like the energy level was super high. Obviously, Senior Day brings that out in people, and a Saturday in Clemson brings that out in people. It's hard, it's hard for Clemson to have good crowds consistently in the middle of the week that give you that type of juice. But on the weekend, you can certainly get it, and I felt like Clemson did. I'll say this about NC State. Clemson played NC State a long time ago. NC State has not gotten significantly better, but they are still a competitive team. If you look at their losses, they're at the bottom of this conference, but they have not been blown out hardly at all. They have been in almost every game because of their individual talent. You look at Sebron and Smith, and that, like, they have 2 dudes right there that Clemson really doesn't have a great matchup for. And you saw Sebron play great in the first meeting. Clemson eventually just started throwing it down to P.J. Hall. And so you got to wonder, P.J. Hall being sort of a game time decision the last couple of weeks, is he good for the duration, or is this going to be, I'm not feeling great today, so I got to shut it down. I'm feeling good today,
Right.
So we're going to roll. I'm really not sure about that. Good to have Hunter Tyson back, and it seems like he's feeling pretty good. And good to see some other guys, like Alex Hemingway gave you 11 points off the bench. You don't win the game without that. David Collins playing well, Naz Bohannon playing well. They're getting contributions in different ways, kind of like baseball. They could have hung their heads at 12 and 15, but they've got 4 wins in a row. And I got to be honest, there is some opportunity here, I think, for this team to mount an NIT bid, because Virginia Tech and Wake Forest and Virginia, all 3 of those wins, Swanee, are right on the cusp. I don't want to say they're a couple spots away. They're a few spots away. But if any of those teams see a jump in the net rating for one reason or another, you could see those become quad 1 wins, and it wouldn't take that much doing. So if you're going from 0 quad 1 wins, which Clemson has right now, to 3, if a quad 3 win becomes a quad 2, all of a sudden that resume looks pretty good. You're playing better down the stretch. I could see this team maybe competing for an NIT bid. I didn't think you would be saying that a couple weeks ago, certainly.
No.
But if you win a couple games here, you do what you're supposed to do, particularly against NC State, and win against Virginia Tech, I think you could certainly see that if you're talking about a team who won 6 in a row before they lost to a really, really good team like a Notre Dame or somebody.
I'll tell you who I'm really liking, Qualk, Ian Shiflin, and his ability to pass the ball as a big man. I can really see a scenario where next season you got kind of a high-low game with him and P.J. Hall, where you just sort of take advantage of having a versatile big guy that can pass the basketball.
I tell you what, man, it's hard to improve on the fly. It really is, and especially for freshmen. It's hard to get better sort of playing 2 games in a week, particularly when you're thrust into duty. But I give Antonio Reynolds-Dean a ton of credit for the work that he's done with PJ Hall, obviously, but also with Ian Shefflin and also with Ben Middlebrooks. Think about it, Middlebrooks was barely usable early in the year. He looked like a deer in the headlights. His eyes were bugging out whenever he'd get in the game. He would do something dumb and commit a foul, and then he'd be out, and he would have played 22 seconds, a turnover and a foul, and that's it, right? Now Middlebrooks is actually functional. Shefflin's able to give you maybe 6 to 10 points. He's giving you rebounds. He's hustling. He's got a great nose for the ball. And as you said, he's probably a better distributor than PJ Hall is at the point. People have asked, what's different about Clemson? Well, really, you've got Ian Shefflin as a distributor rather than PJ, where when he was reversing the ball, he was a lot of times setting up to get the ball in scoring positions for himself, whereas Shefflin's trying to get the ball, and he's going to distribute it. He can kick the ball. He can do different things with it. Like you said, his floor vision is terrific. I'll tell you another guy like that is Chase Hunter. And the more Chase Hunter starts scoring, the better his floor vision becomes because now he's attracting attention. And rather than throwing passes through the needle, now he's able to see wide open guys. I think that's been a big part of this too, is that Hunter has grown more comfortable as a scorer. Teams have scouted him that way. And now he's showing his ability as a passer, as a defender, doing some of the other things. I think that's one of the reasons why, even despite the absence of Hall and Tyson, that this team has begun to learn how to play good basketball with a variety of different looks on the floor.
Yeah, there's not a lot of drop-off at this point when they substitute, and I think that's a big deal as they enter Atlantic Coast Conference play tomorrow against the Wolfpack from NC State. He's on Twitter at Qualtalk every day from noon until 3 o'clock. Out of bounds with Qualk and Kelly, and heck, who knows, turn on the Clemson baseball game. There will be on the broadcast as well. He's William Qualkenbush. Qualt, buddy, always appreciate you, my man.
Thanks, Swanee. Always good to visit with you.
There he is, William Qualkenbush, again on Twitter at QualtTalk, 803-450-0086. Lots of conversation there about the Clemson Tiger baseball team. Lots of conversation about the Clemson Tiger basketball team as well. And again, they get started up at the ACC tournament tomorrow as they will take on the North Carolina State Wolfpack. If you can believe it, man, we are already at the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. Tourney time, Clemson, NC State tomorrow, 4:30 on the ACC Network. With a quick break, we'll bounce back with more here in hour number 2 on Clemson Sports Talk. Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan with you here, the show that shakes the Southland. Over the weekend, I know, and by the way, appreciate William Qualkenbush for joining us, but over the weekend, there was a slight development, I would say, in terms of the women's college basketball scene, and it didn't affect South Carolina being ranked number 1 in the Associated Press poll today, but the Gamecocks dropped their second game of the season in the SEC Tournament Championship to Kentucky. What was incredible about this was the fact that South Carolina, I flipped it on for just a second to see what the Gamecocks were doing. And, I mean, they had, at the time I turned it on, I mean, the Gamecocks had a big lead. And I thought, well, I think it was 45-30, I believe was the score when I turned it on. And, man, all of a sudden, Kentucky must have just caught fire. And they end up coming from behind and winning the SEC championship, denying the Gamecocks their 7th SEC championship in women's basketball. And get this, according to ESPN, back on February the 10th, less than a month ago, the Wildcats were 9-11 and 2-8 in the SEC. And now they win the automatic bid after knocking off South Carolina. They had a 10-game winning streak to close the regular season. And again, a 64-62 victory over number 1 South Carolina yesterday in their first SEC tournament title since 1982. Now, I bring this up because I know that you all are wondering, why are we talking South Carolina women's basketball here on the show that shakes the Southland? And I also don't deny that we probably could care less. But I do want to pose this question to you. As a South Carolina fan peeking over the fence and hanging out with us here on the show, this, to me, is the quintessential question that I asked a week ago to Mike Yuva from Gamecock Central. And that is, look, when you talk about Dawn Staley at South Carolina, as good as they have been, as great as her teams are, they only have one championship so far. And yes, they were trending towards a championship during the COVID-19 season that got taken away. I get it. They are trending towards a championship this year. No, there's no doubt in my mind about that fact. But when you lead by 15 points, 45-30, with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter, and you can't win the ball game, you allow a team to come back and beat you at the buzzer, I think the question has to be said, can this team finish the job and win a national title this year, given the results against Kentucky yesterday? And if they can't, like it's really hard to ever conceptualize or think of like South Carolina fans not loving Coach Dawn Staley. Like, I would think that they will love her till the end of time because of what she's done for that program, and they fill that venue. But at some point, right, even the greats with great teams, with great regular season, like at some point people go, you got to be able to win the big one. You've got to be able to win the big one. And yes, she's got one, but I can't imagine what it will feel like in Columbia if in a couple of weeks we roll up and, I don't know, Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks don't win a national championship. I can't imagine what that would feel like for our South Carolina friends nearby. And at some point, if they don't get another one, you keep swinging and missing, people will eventually sour. And I'm not telling you one loss or whatever necessarily changes that. But the Gamecocks get outscored 21-7 in the fourth quarter of that matchup against Kentucky. The Wildcats scored as many points in the third and fourth quarters as they did in the first two quarters combined. Matter of fact, they scored just 3 points in the second quarter of action. But 64 points was enough as they knock off the Gamecocks yesterday, 64-62. What if this was the reality, Gamecock fans, for the rest of Dawn Staley's tenure? What if it's Charlie Brown and the football? We get close a lot, Swanee, but we just can't make contact again. I mean, Dabo Swinney got 2. He's already got 2, and I think has a chance to get more. But if Dabo Swinney doesn't get more, it'll feel eerily similar, I think, for Clemson Tiger fans because of how good they've been. The biggest thing about South Carolina's basketball, though, the differential. I mean, there's literally, in women's college basketball, there are only a handful of teams at best, and maybe 2 that are just legit title contenders every year, UConn and South Carolina at this point. Maybe a sprinkling of Baylor every once in a while. A Notre Dame at one point. I mean, there are great programs out there traditionally in the women's college game, but it's been Gino and Dawn, it feels like, for 6, 7, 8 years now. And the Gamecocks only have one national title to show for it. Is that underachieving? And if they don't win a title this year, is it further underachieving by Dawn Staley? Like, that's a tough pill to swallow because they are far exceeding any expectation people had for that program at any point in recent memory. But yet, when it comes down to winning the national championship, they've only secured one title. And can they get another one this year? And if they don't, when do people start entertaining that thought process that Dawn Staley's squads have underachieved? It's an incredible thought, honestly, given how good they've been. Stay with us. Back at it on a Monday afternoon. Lawton Swan with you, 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Again, be a part of the show anytime, any place, anywhere. So earlier we played some audio from Brad Brownell. He was asked about Clemson and their offensive scheme, minus Hunter Tyson, minus PJ Hall, the way things kind of worked when those guys were on, sparks this 4-game winning streak, and thought he had an interesting answer to the question. Here's what Brad Brownell had to say, and it will be something to see tomorrow, 4:30, again on the ACC Network. They'll take on NC State, the 15th seed, out of 15, by the way, in the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. But as you heard William Qualkenbush talk about, it is a NC State team that is more than capable of knocking off your Tigers. I would be bitterly disappointed, not utterly shocked if Clemson got beat, but bitterly disappointed because I think this team has played well enough that they should expect to win over NC State and should expect to compete against Virginia Tech in the second round, possibly knock them off and then take on the second-seeded Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the quarterfinals. But here's what Brad Brownell had to say, and I played this earlier. If you missed it or you're just joining us, here's what he had to say about the offensive scheme, so to speak, with the loss of P.J. Hall and Hunter Tyson. And I thought it was a pretty unique answer.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't change it. I mean, we're still playing the same offensively. That nothing's changed other than, PJ wasn't getting as many, wasn't there to get touches. So now a few other guys are going to get more shots. That's naturally going to happen. Defensively, we played a lot of zone against Wake and Boston College. Is some of it out of necessity. You lose 2 front court guys. You really only have Ian and Ben and Nas is 6'5". If those guys are in foul trouble, they can't. You're in trouble. There's nobody else to put in. So it's like, hey, we've got to play some zone to slow the game down, protect them for fouls. And I think both games I know one game they both had 4 anyway. And so we were kind of doing that. I think it obviously surprised Wake because we played a little zone, but nothing like that. And so that helped us. And then it worked a little bit against Boston College. They're not as good a perimeter shooting team. Obviously, we didn't play a second tonight because these guys are the best 3-point shooting team in the league. And we played it a little bit against Tech. And Tech made a couple threes early. And so we kind of got out of it, went back to our man, and our man was pretty good. So we stayed in our man. So that's the biggest adjustment. I think some other guys, because they got to shoot a few more balls, maybe got a little more confidence. Chase, hopefully, got a couple more shots. But we didn't drastically change anything offensively. I think guys just got a few more opportunities.
Right. What can this last 4 games do for you guys going to the tournament now?
Well, I hope it gives us confidence. It's everybody though starts that way, right? Like every team's going there. Hey, this is a new season, new chance. So you try to go there with positive energy and emotion, but it's been great for the last 2 weeks. Our just resilient grit, whatever. Our guys have just hung in there. We could have given in. We could have given in easily, and we're coming off whatever it was, lost 6 in a row, and heartbreaking defeat against Florida State, where we have a chance to win, and still think a couple of bad calls got us. And then we have an open shot to win. We don't make it, and then our best player is out in the first minute of the game at Louisville, and we battle hard, and but just not quite good enough to win. And Louisville, played pretty well that day, and so then you got Wake Forest coming in here. He's one of the best teams in the league, one of the most talented teams, and we try to figure something out, and we just happened to get a win, and it got us going a little bit, and it led to another one, and now we're just kind of hanging on and gained some confidence, and a few more guys have played, and so now you can put Ben in the game for a while longer, and he's had reps and feels a little more comfortable, and Ian, and so it's been good to help create some depth. I think that's been the biggest, benefit of it all.
So again, Brad Brownell's thoughts on that, and I do believe that for whatever reason, and I called it this earlier, and I'll stick to it here. I think these injuries were a bit of a blessing in disguise, and I think that because you've gotten some guys some different opportunities, it is a step in the right direction for this team, because now if, like in this past ball game, PJ Hall gets in foul trouble, well, you've got some players that are a little more accustomed to getting minutes and getting opportunities. And there is no doubt in my mind, just sort of after watching this team play over the past couple of weeks, that the confidence that we are seeing from this team at this point, I think does come from a level of experience, a level of experience that these guys have gotten over the past few ball games. And I thought it could bode well for Clemson if PJ Hall and Hunter Tyson returned. It was hard to tell, really, on Saturday if there was that unique advantage that we were kind of hoping to see develop, partially because PJ Hall had some foul trouble and some of the other guys sort of vanished again. Chase Hunter didn't have a big game, so it kind of raised question marks whether or not you could get the best of both worlds, for lack of a better terminology, I guess. But I think you saw that it didn't completely fail either. It's not as if all of a sudden, well, Clemson forgot how to play basketball with everybody coming back. It might not have looked as sharp or as neat as I would have hoped to sort of send me like a shot of confidence in the arm, but it didn't make me feel sick to my stomach either. And I think maybe this past game was a good chance to kind of start to gel this core group of 10 guys together, and maybe it will carry over into the ACC tournament again tomorrow as they take on the Wolfpack from NC State, scheduled to start at 4:30. That's one of the things about tournaments that you never know about for sure, start times. I mean, those things can get wackadoo in a hurry. 803-450-0086. We'll put a ball on the show next.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Monday afternoon, and boy, was it a lot of fun catching up with William Qualkenbush. Boy, was it a lot of fun watching your Clemson Tigers layeth the smacketh down on the South Carolina Gamecocks on the diamond. I know so many of you relish in that simply because of the fact that the Gamecock fans made you well aware when they were on top of the college baseball world that Clemson's program was beneath South Carolina's in their eyes. And anytime the Tigers can get a win at this point, look, I think we all want to see this team get to Omaha. We all want to see this program win a national title. But it does make it just a tad bit sweeter every season when you can pull off a sweep like that to carry forward into the remaining games of the season. And of course, this Clemson Tiger baseball team will be back on the diamond tomorrow at 4:00 against East Tennessee State. They'll also take on Michigan State on Wednesday at 6 p.m. over at Fluor Field. But man, to see the response of Clemson Tiger fans, and that was the thing. My son had soccer on Friday and Sunday, and so being able to kind of follow the games, listening to the games, and then the reaction of Clemson Tiger fans, I can tell you, Clemson fans pour in to this baseball program. They pour in, and they want to see greatness. They want to see great things happen. And quite frankly, this year's team, an 11-0 start, has made it quite exciting. Quite exciting. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. Obviously, it is early yet. Injuries, the arms, the pitching staff, guys in the bullpen. I mean, all of those things can get changed quickly. But it does feel like this Clemson Tiger program is headed in the right direction in this, at least in this season. And so I think there's an air of excitement around things. And again, the support, I think partially the excitement about the program and really more so baseball comes from the fact that as you look at COVID-19, right? Like it feels like we're taking some serious steps towards normalcy at this point. And that's really what everybody's wanted for a while, is that feeling of normal. And it's felt more normal than it has in a long time. And so I can also assure you that while you may not have, worn a mask or done whatever that may have been necessary, whether you chose not to or not, that's, completely your decision. But I think the recognition that normalcy seems to be coming around, and it feels a little more like it did in 2018 and 2019. I think you're going to see more and more people pouring into venues. I saw over the weekend the Batman movie, which I can't decide if I'm interested in seeing it or not, quite frankly. But I saw the Batman movie had some really good numbers. I think people are slowly but surely starting to return to some of the things that we were once doing with no regard or concern. And I think I'm excited. I know my kids are certainly excited. I know mental health and wellness of our children is a part of this issue that we have dealt with, given the sacrifices that we've made. And I think that ballparks outdoors at this time of the year with the beautiful weather are only going to be more and more packed with people. And for that, I am thankful. The ACC tournament will no doubt be electric. Again, tomorrow, Clemson and NC State face off at 4:30 at the Barclays Arena. Clemson is 16-15, 8-12 in the league. NC State 11-20, 4-16, and they are the lowest seed in the ACC tournament. The Tigers and the Wolfpack faced off earlier this season. Clemson coming away with a 70-65 win on the road. And we shall see what happens for Clemson in the ACC tournament. I can tell you this. Brad Brownell needs this win simply because if you lose this game, people are gonna say this is what you do. It's the old, why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down, right? Like, I mean, 4-game winning streak heading into the ACC tournament. I'm fully prepared for Clemson to win 6 games going into that Notre Dame matchup in a row and then be defeated by the Fighting Irish. Anything less than that at this point is going to be a little bit disappointing for me. But if the Tigers lose to NC State tomorrow, I am full bore. Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down? Yeah, Rob Sanders, I'm singing for you. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Listen, we got to get out of here. Lots of fun hanging out with you on a Monday afternoon. I always appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of what we do. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. And we would love to have you support us on our website, for just $63.17 for 1 year of coverage. You can be a part of this show and support us as well. Again, that's $63.17 and the website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. We got to get out of here. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers!